Welcome back. Episode 62 of the Ground Up podcast. I've had 2 hair transplants, yeah.
Why don't you just accept it, Ryan? If you go bald and get a tattoo on your head.
Well, that'll be really good for capital raising. Britain's first billionaire migrant hotel king.
I think in their last year's profits, they made 120 million or something.
Basically, taxpayers' money.
I don't know how you guys feel about that. That makes me morally angry that someone can make money doing that.
I just naturally put a high sense of urgency on any task that I've got to do, regardless whether it actually needs to be done this week or next week or the week after. There's a known phenomenon for decades now. It's called the Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time that you've got.
My New Year's resolution was to not say that I'm busy to anyone. For our listeners out there, if you bump into anyone and you're busy, you're not allowed to say it. You just got to bump into them and go, yeah, I'm good. Currently raising £2.5 million for one of our projects. How are you getting on?
My nan will love that.
My nan will love that.
You know that pub you used to go to, Gran, when you was growing up? Yeah, well, I'm knocking it down.
Ground up sound, ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down, let's get those deals. Deals, making money, baby.
Welcome back. Episode 62 of the Ground Up podcast. For any new viewers who don't know who we are 4 property developers based in the UK, and we operate at scale. We've got a lot of staff, we've got a lot of sites on the go, hundreds of millions of pounds in the pipeline. And today we don't have a docket, so we're just going to chat shit. And that's basically what's going to happen. We'll be as useful as we can. We'll catch up with our weeks and talk about some new things that have come out, to do some emergency Article 4s in a place called Bolton in the UK. So that'll be somewhat interesting. And then we're going to talk about the future of the property industry, some predictions there, and just other bits and bobs, really. But yeah, today we're gonna wing it and see what happens and catch up. But Dorian's not been on for the last 2 pods, I don't think. So we'll see how that goes. Catch up with D. He's doing some big things right now. Was it 2? Was it 2 or 1? I don't know.
I think it's just
We're
one.
gonna chat shit.
No, you on with Sam? Yeah, I think you want. Yeah.
Oh yeah, fair. No, he was on with Sam. All right. And just a quick intro as well.
Missed me.
This podcast is made up of Stuart Wyeth, Dorian Payne, Jack Jiggins with his slick back hair, and myself, Ryan Beaumont, losing my hair. Yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. How we all getting? Actually, Joel, let me just update you guys on that, because obviously I've had 2 hair transplants here, and my hair is still racing back. And today I'm going to get plasma transfusions, where they take blood out of you, mix it up in a thing, take your plasma out of your blood, and then they just inject it into your head.
Slow the process down, or to rebirth.
Reignite my follicles.
Why don't you just accept it, Ryan? Your body's obviously telling you.
Yeah, can we get an exclusive? Get the hat off. This
I've just got bed hair today, so it just looks a bit mental.
looks fine to me, mate.
Thing is, I can't go bald because the first transplant I've got, they took a big thing of flesh out the back of my head, so I've got a huge scar there. So if I go bald, I'll just have a big smiley face in the back of my head. So the transplants also screwed me for going bald.
You get a tattoo. If you go bald, then get a tattoo on your head.
Just go get some dark tiger powder. Just keep dunking your neck.
Well, that'd be really good for capital raising.
Tattooed head.
On your head.
All the
Just like
day.
random
Imagine the
numbers
pillows.
on your head, like a gang code, you know? 619.
Imagine the pillars. Oh,
Exactly.
disgusting.
At
And
the
the
same
shower,
time as
colour of
well.
the shower.
By the way, at the same time, whilst I'm trying to get hair back onto the top of my head, I'm doing laser hair removal on my body, because I'm like Chewbacca on my body, and then nothing on my head. God wasn't kind to me when it came to hair. But anyway,
You do see that with bald guys sometimes. You know, they're very hairy, other than their head. It's the opposite for me. I've got, obviously, you know, my hair. I don't have like a hairline. Some people have hairlines down to there, don't they? But my hair's okay. But then, in terms of like body hair, there's like non-existent.
Do you know what I sometimes think about in terms of like the evolution of the human being and why we're like where we are? And I was chatting to my wife about this. So like in like the like good old days where there used to be sword fights, right? There used to be a team of sword fighters and a team of sword fighters. So 2 different, you know, whatever you want to call them, gangs or recce's or towns or whatever you want to call them. The winning team would live and the losing team would die. Therefore, technically, the winning team, who was probably the stronger or smarter or had something about them, would go on and spawn more than the losing team. That's like kind of how I saw the evolution going on. But That's why I think you get bald on the head, Ryan, because
Yeah, intelligence. That's what it is. Thanks, Jack.
so like you can't control. You were probably a winning warrior back in the day, but yeah, you were bald and you looked like a bear. Maybe your nickname on the field was Bear, but that's where you come from.
I like the bold gorilla analogy. I'll take the bold gorilla. Thank you. Thank you very much. But anyway, how are we getting on, boys? How's D? What was your? You've had a pretty busy few weeks, didn't you, mate?
It's very busy, yeah, very busy indeed. So I'm at as I've said before, I'm at the pressure point of getting a few major deals over the line. Still working on them. Was meant to try to sell a £13.5 million site today, but it looks like it's being pushed to next Friday. And I am just pushing everybody on that because we're ready to go. And then we've got another £13.5 million site to sign in July, early July, which hopefully is good. I'm currently in advanced legals with this 10 to 25 million joint venture with the Social Impact Fund. We're due draft contracts today, actually. So I'm going to chase that up after this. And hopefully that closes out in the middle of July. And in recent events, I also had some decent good news from a debt house fund that we were also in conversation with, where they took our proposal for a £6 million facility to investment committee, and the general consensus was to move forward. So I'm through, in terms of the gates of capital raising, the first gate is to get through the gatekeeper. Then the second gate is to get through the senior management team. Then the third gate is to get, depends on who it is, whether it's either the head of the fund or a director. Then is getting through investment committee. Then you kind of enter into clarification or some other DD. There's obviously DD along the way in the other steps. Then it'll go back to investment committee. And then if they give me term sheets from that, it's like an investment committee back term sheet. It'll then go into formal DD, where everything that's been discussed and agreed will just get verified. And legals do typically twin track it at that stage. And so there's still a few gates to go, but all that's decent. And there's lots happening in the business, and there's just tons happening, tons.
Timelines or juicy details on where you're getting to with this capital raising? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So, I'm predicting, obviously, these two major deals we're working on. Hopefully, within the next month, they just get bottomed out. This joint venture, hopefully, that gets signed within the next month as well. So, I'm targeting end of July, really, but hopefully, it's middle of July. And that's three major things happening. In terms of this debt house fund, obviously, even if that goes well, that's still about 3 months away, just in how long things take. So, but there's other capital raising going on outside of that, which is going all right. I think just the major thing for us really is I want to get into this joint venture because this is massive for us. And so the type of sites we're looking at now under that, they're going to fund the pipeline side. So cash flow gets significantly improved. We can go into larger deals. And we're just trying to restructure the business to make sure that our capabilities are ready for that. So soon, within the next month, 3 of the 4.
Beautiful, mate. Fingers crossed for you, sir. Fingers crossed. What about you, Stu? How's the week?
Been busy, mate. It's been at late nights every week this week. I went to my first Bitcoin meet in Farnham, which is quite interesting. There's an app called the Orange Pill app, and I've been on it for about a year. And I think you pay like a couple of quid a month, and not really tickled my fancy. But I watched a podcast about a company called the Smarter Web Company PLC, and the CEO Andrew Webley was doing a talk down there. And funny enough, the podcast I watched the week before said that this company's trying to become the first UK treasury to start stacking Bitcoin and using their equity, but their investors' money to buy more Bitcoin. So he wants to become the British Michael Saylor. And then, funny enough, he was 15 minutes away. He lives in Bristol, but he was been around London and all sorts. And he was doing a 2-hour talk down in Farnham. So I went to him, which was really interesting. Come away becoming an investor. So I've obviously invested some money the following day, and it's gone up 250% since. It's going to hopefully rocket over the next few months. So that's interesting. Wow. So I went to London on Wednesday, courtesy of Jewson's Start Group. John Carr put an event on there for about 250 SME builders. So we listened to a load of talks and then had some fun on the old arcade machines, which were very addictive, to be honest. I think I got fastest time which was good fun. So I'm going to do our Christmas party there because I loved it, even if everyone else wouldn't. I think it's good because you watch 3 or 4 people racing, and then you're all racing on the same track. You get like 3 minutes to sort of try and finish as close up the ranks as possible. I'm going today to see a developer called Rutu. Shout out to Amara Properties. She's working in Buckingham at the moment. She's just finishing a site. She's just done 6 very, very nice houses, 27 million GDV.
27 million GDV for 6 houses.
Yeah. About 4.5, 5 mil each. Yeah. They're mental. I'll put some up on Instagram. But yeah, it's lovely, lovely site. I think she's had a good run, but I'm going to try and find out all the warts and all, and find out what's gone right, what's gone wrong, because it's a massive site and it looks beautiful from her pictures. I've known her for quite a few years, but
Are they yet to go on the market?
I think they're just about to go on the market. Yeah, so
Right, whether they sell or not. Not everything to get to here. If it's done,
yeah,
it's
no,
done.
absolutely. Oh, I know, and these are big numbers, man.
Big-
This is
Big executive homes like 4.5 million. To put that in perspective, Buckingham's probably £300 a square foot. I know Buckingham because it's in Oxfordshire.
Bourne End. Is where
Oh, Bourne End. Yeah. Buckinghamshire. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've built a house in.
and that's just to give you an idea. That's the site there. You see that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Right,
Shout out
Good
Mark
fun roasting.
Properties.
Mixed you. If you fancy a coffee
Well,
on the way home,
with Meg, we might be going for lunch, so I'll ping you a line if we go somewhere. Unless you want to give us a recommendation, come Mio. Rutu's lovely girl. Really, 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 really ambitious, and yeah, she's just lovely. So I'm going to go see her and have some lunch. So yeah, I'll shut you up, mate. What else is there? Oh, I'm fasting. I'm doing 20-hour fasts at the moment for this week. I can't lose the weight as much as I'm trying. I'm still swimming, loving it. Swimming, been there 3 times this week. But yeah, fasting. So I've downloaded some app, and you got to do 20 hours a day where you just don't eat. So, but it is getting easier. It's just you get past this pain point where you're just so hungry, and then all of a sudden it just goes, and you feel like you can not eat again, and then you get 4 hours to binge as much as I can. I'm trying to do like 2 small meals, and obviously being out as well, it's tough. So I'm doing like 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
I've actually booked in swimming lessons. I've got 4 swimming lessons coming up.
do you have like a roulette wheel of like what you get trained on each month? Like piano lessons, tennis lessons, swimming lessons. What's next?
I can swim, but the problem is when I'm swimming, I think we're all naturally competitive people, right? So when I'm swimming and I'm listening to people talk about their distance and stuff, and I'm doing some lengths, and basically my technique is inefficient. I've never really had official training, so then it's starting to irritate me. So I'm like, right, you know what? Where's the professional in the room? Right, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Sort me out.
It's so technically. I'm thinking about doing front crawl lessons. I mean, in a lake or so. It's a technique of the stretch, and you got to try and get
Oh,
extra
yeah.
inches, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
pull back, and you're using the
gotta
whole
film
surface
me
of your
and
arm to pull
everything.
back.
I don't think us or our listeners need to be taught that swimming is quite technical.
Swimming is very technical. Honestly, you start YouTubing it. I've been watching loads of YouTubes on breaststroke.
It takes someone with confidence to walk into a swimming pool full of people and say, "Excuse me, sir, can I have some lessons?" Fuck it. I don't give a shit. I want to be the best.
I think they call it coaching now. It's not lessons. So you get swimming coaching, I think, is what they said on the lake. Always do better, mate. There's always room for improvement. But yeah, it's been a good week. Apart from that, yeah, working. Oh, we've got the most amazing deal that I've just got to go and raise 2 million quid for. So it's us and one other. We find out this afternoon if we've won it. It's a great deal. It's just a land package deal. It's a class MA. It's got MA for 14. It's got planning for another 6 on the roof. It's got an industrial unit at the back that's been trying to be marketed for 2 years, and there's a play in the car park to potentially do 50 units, which I don't even know if we'll build out, to be honest. I think we'll just get the plan in. It's a 2.5 year play. I need to try and raise 2 million quid, and I think we want to do sort of a pref at 15%. So yeah, stacks. I've just got to get on with finding someone. I spoke to a few people. I went to Ealing Property Meet last night as well. I didn't get back till 12:30. Matt Baker, shout out to Matt, who was doing a little talk down there on a commercial to a CHMO, whatever he calls it, commercial to HMO, 13 bed, warts and all. Quite nice. He's quite honest about what the things he learned and costs that he didn't really cover and stuff, and obviously looking for the best commercial valuation. But he did mention about this Bolton thing, which we'll come on to, which I just ChatGPT'd it just to do it this morning, so I'll read that out and we'll have a chat about whether it's legal or not. But yeah, apart from that, it's been good. Yeah, so I'm hoping next week I should be able to have this bill secured. It should be lovely.
And can I ask you a quick question, Stu? How much did it cost you to learn to fly?
35 grand, I think,
Over what time?
about half a day a week for 2 years.
2 years. Oh, that's all right. Over 2 years. Fair. I want to do it. I want to learn how to fly. I don't know why. Just suddenly hit me.
So good for your it's so good for your mind in terms of processes. because they've kept people safe in the air for 150 years, whatever, 120 years. And the way they do it is there's a process and a formula to everything. Even the way you get into the aircraft, the way you check everything, and then you fly, and then you the way you check out the aircraft, and the way you keep your paying customers comfortable and aware of what's going on. And it just builds a good process in your mind. Then you can apply it to pretty much everything. So it's all worth doing. As well as it's fucking great flying at 2,000 feet in a day like today. My friend, I'm going out again tonight. The missus hates me this week, but I'm going up to Miller and Carter with a good friend of mine. Went and bought a Cirrus R22, which is it's like a Ferrari of the single prop aircraft. So it can go like 200 mile an hour. It's super quick, super robust. It's got an emergency parachute effectively that pulls out the top if there's a problem with the engine. So it's just a great family aircraft, a good cruiser to go around Europe and stuff. So I'm meeting them tonight.
Plenty of boot space.
Yeah, definitely do it, right?
What about you, Jack? How's your week been, mate?
Yeah, busy week. Was in London with your. I've got the photo here. You see that? Look at that,
Oh,
boys.
yeah.
You missed out on. So us in a pub enjoying our lives. That's me, Ryan, and Big Jim, or Slim Jim as we now call him. I was in London Monday, and then just cracking on, really, getting shit done. Similar to Stu, I've got 4 capital raises that I'm doing at the moment. One of them's £2.5 million, and all the others are a bit smaller. So I feel like I've been rattling our investor list and catching up with people and doing a few bits. Annoyingly, our business manager on our surveying company handed in a notice a couple of weeks ago. It was probably about 10 days ago. And I was like, shit. And then I realised that we had this really good lady that interviewed for our estate management role. And the only thing that she was lacking was like estate management experience. She works in an architectural practice, been a business manager in that company for 7 years. So I gave her a buzz and I was like, do you want to come and interview for this role? She was like, yeah. 2 days later, accepted the role. So now we got a transition over. So went from bit panic stations to all sorted. Just capital raising.
Why would you panic in that scenario? Like, if you couldn't fill the role, what would the consequence be for you?
Yeah, so I mean what we do in like key employee roles is we actually increase their notice period the longer they're with the business. So a lot of people don't even bother looking at contractual obligations, but our business manager in XP Surveys has got a 6 weeks notice, which is quite a long time. But if you hire anyone good, they're going to be on a minimum of 4 weeks notice period, and you've got to go through the whole recruitment process. If that's a technical role, it's really difficult to get any form of overlap. So that responsibility falls on other people in the team or you to do that role while you haven't got anyone in that position. So obviously we've got resources in the businesses that we can lean on, but in that particular instance, we've managed to backfill it so that there is an overlap. And, for an example, my land guy just said I'm leaving, but I'll leave when we find someone new. That's great because it means that I can get him to train the new person up, and it's not using my time to train anyone. They're just slotting in. That land guy's now moving on, and we got a new land guy in, and that's just done. Whereas the real difficult balance with notice periods is anyone good has a notice period, and anyone leaving has a notice period. So the day that you get notified, you're kind of on the back foot. So we always try and do it at least 6 or 8 weeks notice to try and not get pushed back on a contract. But and she's a really good employee. She's it's really difficult. I say every time you have a churn, you're always like, it's going to be difficult to replace, and you get new blood in, and you see the good, the bad, and the ugly of the old and the new. But it's just frustrating. I find that staff churn when they're a good member of the team, it's just frustrating because it's like if they didn't leave, it wouldn't be a task that you have to do, and they know what they're doing. They're pretty efficient at it. They grow, like she would have stayed in the business, helped it grow, and been more than proficient. But yeah, it just goes to show that it's two ways. I would say to some of our team, no one's irreplaceable, and vice versa. They're not there forever. So, but yeah, pretty efficiently got it turned around, which was good.
I was just going to say, it's when you have to stay relentless, because staff churn, I mean, you want that to be as low as possible when you've got a good team, but the thought of someone leaving, having to train them again, and then having to learn all the new systems and processes and make the same mistakes and stop them making the same mistakes again, for them to leave a few years later and then go again. Personality clashes, then you've got to get to know them as well. So it's a real balance of art of people to try and keep everything in equilibrium.
What else, Jack? What else you got going on?
Not a lot else really. I won the Searchland Golf Day, which I touched on last week. So another bit of medal work in the office for the team, which is good.
Has any of you watched the Minecraft movie?
No.
No, dear, I'm
Uh,
40 years old.
Huh? Yeah, so obviously I got my kids are 7 and 5, so I watched a Minecraft movie and that just brought me back a memory there, Jack, of you talking about the win at the golf day again, because there's a character in there. I think it's played by Jason Momoa, and basically he won like this fucking arcade game in the 80s or something. So every time he introduced himself, he says, "Yeah, the 1989 world champion." So you'll be referencing that for a little while now, don't you? Yeah, my name's Jack Jiggins. You know the Searchland Golf winner?
Better than your intro. My name's Dorian Payne, just currently getting some golf lessons.
Hey, I am actually having golf lessons, Jack. Yes,
Well, I think Jack's coming Portugal now, D. So ground up, Portugal. Let's fucking go.
Jack. I thought you had obligations.
Now he said no, fuck the obligations. He was like, yeah, I'll definitely come to that.
Basically, Ryan's puppeteered me to open my mouth. He's a brilliant ventriloquist.
Oh, no.
If the four of us were there, it would be absolutely class. No pressure, Jack. Although Stuart has, I'm not sure if Stuart's made this aware, but he is joining and coming, even though he's going to miss his daughter's birthday.
Shh, it's a secret. She won't know. It's on a Monday. And she's a nursery anyway, so like, no, I'm taking her to Disneyland to make up for it, mate, like for 4 days, and it's costing me a fortune. So we're doing that first the week before, and then I'm shooting off to Portugal, and then she can enjoy her birthday at nursery. So yeah, it's all good. It's all been signed off by the wife. We're happy.
Until I heard the shit that Stuart gets away with.
Absolute murder.
Right, tell us about your week.
My week. So I had a funky one this week. I've not done this in a long time, but I spent the whole week in London. So anyone who doesn't know, I live between Fulham and the northeast, and I've been doing that for fucking years. And so I try and do the weekends in Fulham, London, and then I'll do the midweek up in the north, obviously building the business, doing all that stuff. This week I had a funeral yesterday in Maidstone, so it just made sense for me to stay this week, which was nice because what I did is right, I'm just going to see some people and do some things. And it's been pretty wholesome. Catched up with some old mates that I've not seen for years. And Monday we had a great day out. It was quite wholesome. With the old TDC boys. We went to play some paddle. Me, Jack, and Jimbo were flying around on line bikes, going from fucking the O2 back into Shepherd's Bush. That was sick. Sweaty work, but that was good. And we saw some of Jack's American mates as well, one of which is doing flips in Florida. And we were comparing line by line the differences between doing a flip in Florida and doing a flip in the UK. And oh my God, the stark contrast of how much easier it is to do things out in America. And me and Jack were like, right, that's it. We'll fuck the UK. We're going to America. But it is that was interesting. We should probably touch on that a bit as well later. Did that. Saw some other people, done a lot of exercise this week, which was nice. I'm trying to do more of my calisthenics. And I said at the start of the year, I need to just get fit and just be ripped again. So I used to be in really good shape when I was doing all the free running. The band kind of made me get in lean shape, but not necessarily strong. And then ever since I've been doing property, most of the days just like that on a fucking laptop and in a car or going around. And I don't know about you guys, but if I don't feel like I'm in good shape or in like good health, like it just starts to mess with my head a bit. And what I was doing for years is prioritizing work in those hours where I was like, I could go on a run, but I could also just get this done. And I kept doing that, making that decision. And the last few months, I've just gone, no, fuck the work. I'm going on the run. I'm doing the calisthenics. I'm going to get in good shape. And I feel amazing for it. Like I could see myself like in much better shape, and I want to try and have like a solid 6-pack again for the summer. And that to me, the upside of feeling that much better, I think is more important than the extra bit of work I could have done in those hours. So that's been quite nice. And then today, seeing some more people and got my hair transfusion, and then business been good as well. Our new sales guys come in. I say sales guys, it's not. It's we call it portfolio advisor because it's not really sales. It's talking them through, the whole process and like, what financial levels they have and what they can do with that sort of money. And he's already closed out one investor from this week, and he's got about 3 really healthy follow-ups. One guy with about 800 odd grand who wants to do commercial to resis, and it's just a testament to the funnel we've built the way we're nurturing clients, and the brilliance of this guy we've brought in, it just means we're going to double our investment raising capacity, which has just been, so I'm trying to get prepared for that now in the acquisitions and all the other things. AI guys built me, finished building the acquisitions tool. It only took him it's taken him about 4 weeks, bit of tinkering. But that's like completely transformed how we acquire sites. I'm not on the bigger sites. This is more for buy-to-lets and HMOs. But fuck me, it's just so much quicker now. And the next project he's working on is to come up with an AI for an automation sequence for the Ground Up podcast. Because what I want him to do is for every Wednesday night, have he's creating a scraper that's going to scrape the internet for the best topics, all the facts, and try and create a presentation for the docket on each podcast, just so there's always one prepared. And then I'll just go in and just reformat it to make it a little bit cleaner. But it'll do all of that. Yeah, exactly. But it'll do all that searching. So I've got a call with him today just to start the process on that. So yeah, trying to bring in as much automation as possible. I definitely feel like I'm sitting on top of the business now, in a really healthy way, where things are just moving and happening, and I'm not even needing to like get involved with those sorts of bits. We've got some bigger sites that are starting, so I'm starting to get dragged back in again to sort of check on how things are going. But other than that, mate, life's good, feeling healthy, business is moving in the right direction. I try to be careful of overheads. We're doing quite a bit of forward funding at the moment as the team builds, and I can see the pipeline building, so I'm trying to hire in the right locations. And I've also just not fired someone, but terminated a contract we had with the guy on a retainer who was managing some of our media buying, just in preparation for. I'm always trying to look forward and go where am I committing to risky monthly overheads that may not pay a return back, and can I like tinker them and reduce them, or try and like hedge against them in some other way?
That's a difficult question, that is, though, isn't it? It's like, because I have this conversation as well, and I'm like, for example, we're doing like a budget review and cost review, and it's like, right, where can we cut costs that we don't need to cut, that we don't need? And like, for example, I've got a membership with like this business network and business mastermind type thing, right? And so the conversation came up was, do you really need that membership? And you're like, well, not really, but they're like future investment things. And you're like, yeah, but if you want to save the pennies, do you cut it? When you're talking with finance people, it's black and white like that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep it for now. And then I turn up to one of the events, and then I get introduced to somebody who ends up being the investment director at this fund I talked about earlier, and that we're now through investment committee with, and there's a £6 million facility. I'm like, if that comes off, it would have paid for that. I mean, like, fucking thousands times worth. But the problem is, you never know if it's going to give you a return or not. So how do you do that, Ryan? Because it's not black and white.
I think it's a spectrum. I think you'll all agree with this. Like anyone, I always just see when it comes to being risky with spend or taking a gamble on forward funding, there's from fee earners through to, those that can help increase the business volume or increase profitability, down to, like admin staff. I always see it that it's like a spectrum of risk, and I'll happily double the spend there. Even if it's just for 2-3 months to test something, and if I waste £6,000, fuck it, I've wasted £6,000, but I've tried something, learned something new, and almost always it's not been a waste of money. Like this media buy, for example, that's probably cost about £3,500, not too bad. And then now terminate a contract with him, but he did come up with one idea. He just wasn't performing really for what we needed, and the idea he came up with was just a slight pivot in the way the campaign's moving to go more direct. And what that has done is meant that there's less of a requirement for an SDR who's then taking leads and manually booking calls, because now they're more direct, and we've got a higher volume of people automatically booking calls, which means we're actually saving a future overhead on SDR. So the £3,500 is probably actually going to save us maybe 30-40 grand in the long run. So I always see that if you spend there and take risks there, almost always, whether it's in lessons or just an increased business volume, it's almost always worth it. Same with acquisitions and stuff. If you've got a better way to acquire sites and other things, I think that's always going to be worth the gamble. And then you just kind of like work your way through, I think, down to like do we need an admin staff, or do we need to just relook at our process now because like the business volume has increased? Maybe bring in this AI guy, and this AI guy can come in and maybe reformat something that reduces the necessity for the admin to spend so many hours on things. And so I try and look at like maybe automation and like overheads and just balance it. It's not a fucking science. It's just like an intuition, isn't it? You got to kind of just know where you're at. And
I think you're kind of talking about two different things, though, right? You're talking about investing in the team and what heads and what bums need to be on sea, or what heads do you need in the business. And Dorian's talking about other expenditures like being part of clubs, going to events, flying on a holiday. How do you quantify that? But just to touch on your point, Ryan, of staffing, one thing that we do, which I think is essential in service-based businesses, is have a blended model where you subcontract some work out permanently. So what that means is you can expand and contract with the busyness of business. So we have a core team of those fee earners, those salary people that we always want to keep at 100% capacity, but you can never keep them at 100% of capacity if you don't have a third party outsourced team that you can bring in as and when you're really busy. So they're still at 100% capacity, but then you can outsource that work. But then also when you hit a certain threshold that you're constantly getting more revenue or more work, you then hire another person internally, but always keep that external resource. That's how we sort of balance that in our surveying business.
that exact logic is exactly what we do for the construction business, where it's like it needs to be able to ebb and flow. Because we went through the learning lessons there of employing in-house. Here's just another good nugget for anyone out there that's either building a construction business or dealing with contractors. There's like two main models. There's subcontracts, where you pay people on a price, and then you pay CIS and other things, and then there's paying people on a day rate. And we started trying to build a big team on day rates, and what that means is constantly need continuity of work. You always need to move the lads around. There's a lack of incentive and all these other things. The second we flipped it to subcontracting, it means, look, lads, I ain't got work for you next week, so keep yourself busy, but you know there's a whole load of work for the rest of the year, so come back in 2 weeks' time, and I'll program you in. And they always want to come back because they want to keep the continuity with us, and they'll do their subcontracting work on domestic jobs and whatever else. So in a construction business, I think that point's super important, Jack. For the rest of our business, because we're the family's obviously there, and can fill gaps wherever we need it, which means we've got a bit of a unique advantage where if we kind of go over capacity in an area, we don't necessarily need to hire straight away. One of us can just sort of plug the gap until we can get it to a point where it's like, okay, it's bursting now. And we've actually just done that. So up until now, me and the sales team as a whole has been covering all the admin, but now I've employed an admin out in Gibraltar, and the admin's going to come in start of August, and then take over that burden. And that's going to alleviate our sales team to do way more, fee earning activity. But it's been because me and Dad and Matt, credit to Matt as well, have been able to just work the late nights and just keep on top of the admin and the boring bullshit stuff that you don't really want your sales guys doing. So yeah, I think you can mediate it a bit, and having family or good friends and stuff work with you, I think gives you that a bit of an advantage where they'll work the late hours to make up for what would otherwise be probably another job role.
I do as a small business, right? You got to put the hours in while you get it built up. I think totally agree with Jack. You got to be 120% capacity to make sure you got your team constant, and then you can rely on external people who understand that's the role, and they might charge a premium or will be outside, but they know that they're next in line. So if you go to 150, 160%, you can bring them in as next in line. The other key thing of running a successful business would be to keep consistent. Obviously at the front end of the loft machine. So we've got targets for the year, we've got targets for the month. I know I need to dig deep and work harder if I'm behind target, not take your foot off the gas, but prioritize other things in the business to make sure you've got consistency. Because I know X amount of deals equals X amount of hours for the design team, X amount of hours for the admin team, and trying to build a level playing field. You can grow slowly, but that creates stability for every department. And yes, I can control the accelerator if we need to, or we can pivot because we're small enough to go into other things. But I would normally try and set up a replicated business and try and build that than to rock the boat. If the boat's stable and it's doing well and it's doing predictable profits, then any extra time I've got, I'll then look into more acquisitions, more developments, and try and blend and fold this all into one company or one. So it's quite an art.
I think it's super fascinating. That whole kind of 5-minute section we've just spoke about is the stuff that you'll never get taught when you start a business. You just got to learn that shit because there isn't a fine art to it, is there? You just kind of got to go through the motions and templates or whatever business model you're running, whatever the requirements of that sector are. And that's where a lot of people I've seen so many people just hire way too early, or just or spend on overheads on stuff. And I'm like, why are you doing that now? Like,
Got to learn to say no, because as soon as you go out, yeah, I'll do anything, everything. A, you miss the opportunities that are actually good for your business, that they're healthy to grow and to create stability. B, you'll be running around like an absolute nutter trying to catch balls where you just haven't built the systems for that type of thing. So learning to say no, and by saying no, you'll get the opportunity to do 3 times as better, build a better business. As long as you say no and just stick to what your niche, super important.
Obviously, we had Johnny, who runs his own Amazon warehouse, fulfilling warehouse on episodes, but probably about 5 or 6 episodes ago. And we've actually noticed this in our surveying team. There's a really, really good balance between like how busy the team are. We actually have found that if we're quiet, we're less efficient per job than if we're busy. Because if you know that you haven't got continuity of drawings to be getting on with, you take your time and you make it more accurate, and then that's margin lost on that particular job for us. So if you're actually busier and you're churning through the work, obviously not to the point of like burnout and stress and deadlines are constantly being not met. But before then, we found that actually the busier you are, the more efficient you become. It's almost like a highly tuned engine. Like you need to push it to its limits to get its real benefit from it.
Yeah, because I would challenge the one word you said there, Jack, about they'd spend more time on it to make it more accurate. In my experience, because I find exactly the same as you said, the longer sometimes, like there's this sweet spot. If some of my team or myself or the business in general, there's time, people just expand the work into the time, and then typically what happens is they just take a lot longer, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's more accurate. What happens is they expand it until it becomes close to the deadline again, and then they get it finished with that same level of urgency. And I'm like,
Do you know what my non as an analogy always says that is, and I love it. He says if you're going out and you've got an hour to get ready, you'll take an hour. If you're going out and you've got 10 minutes to get ready, you'll take 10 minutes. And it's the same, analogy. Even though you actually don't take an hour to get ready, you probably take 10 minutes, but you might go and, take the bins out, or, if you're Stuart, spend 45 minutes on your hair.
is a known phenomenon for decades now. It's called the Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time that you've got, basically. So
The things that I was using in the interview is one of the girls who joined me recently was like, what would we like with flexible hours and working? I'm like, the work doesn't stop. The beauty about being at the front of the machine is I'm controlling the accelerator. And the accelerator, or if you measure the amount of work you're selling at the front end versus the reviews and time at the end, I don't really care when people work, to be honest. And that's why I don't check people in, check people out, because it's very easy to see where the holdups are based on your KPIs. And you can make your business as simple as possible. And it's, the more simple you can make it, the easier it is to understand what's going on. And if there's any sort of choke points, you can just jump on that department. And if it's taking 6 weeks rather than 3 weeks, why? It's as simple as that.
manage on deliverables, not on like micromanaging day work and shit like that. And I think we spoke about this before, actually, on that Parkinson's law thing. If sometimes just set a date for stuff or set a target, even if it's kind of arbitrary, but at least there's something to work to. Whereas if it's like, yeah, get this done.
Programs with our build deliveries, right? Having a program to work to means that everyone stays focused on the critical path. And if we can make sure that, if you have no plan, that critical path can just drag out and out and out and out and out, because no one's focusing and going, well, what can we do? Can we layer those 5 tasks and do them at the same time? If we bring that forward, can we push ahead with this thing, and just to try and have some sort of plan? And we do the same with lofts and the same with our pre-build department, our during build department. It's very simple to see where the holdups are, and that's where your time needs to be spent.
And this is where good managers, when you bring good managers in, that they're the ones that they bought into those timelines, those deadlines, and they're the ones commanding, because you can have a program as well, but then if there's no accountability, like you have to have the deadline, but then you also have to have the consequences for people for not having that somebody there driving it, holding people to account. Because otherwise, they once they realize there's no accountability for it, it fucking goes out the window as well.
Yeah, I suppose the trick there is making sure that the manager is working to somewhat realistic timelines and has a good understanding of what should be expected.
I don't know. I would challenge that as well a bit, because I think
Challenge this morning.
It's fucking
Oh, someone's had his
He's
meat
learning
of
to
it.
swim.
Yeah, no.
Well, talk about chat. Like, I'm attending a charity football day today, so we've got my football kit. So I'm just in my challenging mood, ready for
pain one.
ready to be looked the wrong way and then fall over and claim a yellow card foul. Come on, ref. No, but what I was saying is my leadership and management style, rightly or wrongly, is I just naturally put a high sense of urgency on any task that I've got to do, regardless whether it actually needs to be done this week or next week or the week after. And I direct that challenge to my team. And I did it again recently to one of my team. It's like, we got to get this deadline out by Friday. This is, what are we going to do? Because this is what needs to happen, when we can do by. And I put it on them. I'm like, what are we going to do? And then they're like, well, there's nothing really much I can do unless I work later. I'm like, right, great, do that then. Like, let's do it. I've got to get this out by Friday. And because the definition of realistic, this is where I struggle with today's world, is that, if someone has got working hours of 9 till 5 with 3 breaks in between, in an SME startup, that is not really, if you're in a role of responsibility anyway, that is just not really workable. In certain moments when a task comes up, it's just got to be done, regardless of what is.
I completely agree with what you're saying there in terms of setting targets, pushing the team, getting the most out of the team. But it's the consequence bit that I'm speaking to, really, that if you punish the team for not meeting what are maybe quite ambitious targets, then you can end up burning out your team, right? And you can have team members get disgruntled with management, and then that can be a bit of a downward spiral if the management isn't aware of what's like a realistic expectation on things.
But also, you have to push your team to that extent to sometimes realize if they're just all talk.
Yeah, no, you should push them. It's the consequence.
They go, oh, workload's too much. Then if you actually push it and go, well, actually, someone else in the team can do double what you're doing. I think it's just you chatting shit, really.
I literally just had this conversation yesterday as well. I pulled somebody in, senior-ish role, and the other day I made a joke about the workload. I was like, how are you finding everything? How's your workload? Yeah, yes, it's really busy. And then whenever anyone says this to me and we're walking around the office, whenever like that normal chat comes up, or how's everything, and they say busy, my instant reaction always is, could you be busy though? And they're just like, what do you mean? I said, well, do you think you've got capacity to be busier? You said you're busy. I mean, we're all busy, but could you be busier? Like, no, I don't think I could. So I said, so if I give you another project now, do you reckon you could handle it? No, I don't think I could. I'm like, well, others can, so why can't you?
I find myself asking the question, and it's so weird. I always almost have a chat with myself, because we've all grown our businesses where we're, to start with, we're the person doing everything. We're the one wearing all the hats. And then I always look at a role and I go, if I was solely doing that, how great would that be? If that was all I had.
Well, no, I actually think, and I know this is going to sound big-headed, but I say this as well, and I was like, if I was just doing that role, I'd be the fucking best there is.
I know. I always think, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. If you just think, if that was all I was focusing all of my energy on time on, how amazing would it be? Just be like, right, don't worry about that. Get in, focus on it, get it done.
I think every business owner probably feels that gripe, especially if you've built your business and been in every facet of it. And then you look at it and go, but that's easy. But to be fair, I think it's sometimes you got to be able to relate to a domain role and understand that they don't have that full spectrum. They can't see the things the way you see things. So to you, there's logical answers, but they may not be sympathetic to the knock-on effects and how those things interact, which is a hard thing to relate to.
I'm going to say a point about being busy. In 2022, my New Year's resolution was to not say that I'm busy to anyone, because I used to bump into someone that I hadn't seen for like 4 or 5 years and be like, how you doing? Yeah, good, just busy. And there's nothing in that. There's just no substance or update. And it's really good because it challenges you to say something different, like something current, something not current. And you're just not actually giving them a sentence, which means complete fuck all. Because, I might not see them for another 5 years. So I actually end up telling them something else now. So I tell them either a problem or a win. And that's like what, and I've stuck to it since 2022. And so for our listeners out there, if you bump into anyone and you're busy, you're not allowed to say it. You just got to bump into them and go, yeah, I'm good. Currently raising £2.5 million for one of our projects. How are you getting on? It gives them something to work.
Yeah, my nan will love that. How you doing?
My nan will love that.
But the only thing with that, Jack, is, and I agree with you, is just, I know this is going to sound bad and I don't mean it that way. Sometimes when those conversations come up, like you've just experienced, you've just highlighted there. If I know the other person is gonna, if the real state of play is gonna just alienate them in the conversation, I just won't even bother going down there because I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. Who you talk to about real business underlying problems or issues. It's very picky and choosy. Like I wouldn't say that to, my grandma. I'll just tell her something that she can relate to. Tell her about a local project or tell her, But the principle is,
you know
it's to
that
get
pub you
rid of.
used to go to, Gran, when you was growing up? Yeah, well, I'm knocking it down.
She is her now deceased husband, R.I.P. granddad, was a contract developer as well. So she's grown up. It's actually funny. She always says to me, she was like, "Have you seen the planning they've got on there? Absolutely terrible. They're allowed to do that." And I was like, "Nan, granddad fucked up the town to build a lot of shit around it."
Let me just hone back in on one of, I think it was maybe a question Dorian was asking, but out of interest, how much do you guys spend monthly, do you think, on like recreational memberships and bits and bobs and events and things like that? If you had to put a number on it, what do you think it is each month that you spend? So that could be from the Goldman Sachs stuff to some club thing you're a part of to golf and
I spend between 3,000 and 5,000 a month, including travel.
on extracurricular sort of things that
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
or something. Does that include swimming lessons
Wow.
and stuff as well?
Well, you got to remember, mine for me to get to London in itself and back, that in itself is over £250 from where I am. So if I go to London just 5 times in a month, which to be fair isn't that, it's just over one a week. That depending on the time I go, that I could spend £2,000 just in that.
You could do a whistle stop, come and see 3 or 4 people in your trip.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I do whistle stop, and I try to do several things at once, but it's expensive.
Probably, I haven't put a number on it. I'm guessing maybe 20 grand. I don't have to spend too much. Yeah, 20 grand. 100 to 2.5 grand a month, I would say.
Yeah, Stuart definitely does. Most of his goes into food, though. He's just like, "Fucking, what you got a table for us? No, what about 100 bill? Does that a table?"
The Mr. Influencer, cash influencer.
I dance in that club with all my bags, mate. So it's worth a 50 euro tip.
I like how you just did a paper shuffle like you're on BBC.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
yeah, there he is.
This is because my cleaner cleans our house as well at the same time, and she just brings over the post. That I've already told her it's not the address.
I got one here as well, Stuart. I have no idea.
What were you all doing? What's it? Bring your utility bill.
You did. I was opening the post going, they can come to the house as much as they want. They're trying to read a meter, an MPAN number on a meter that doesn't exist. That they took out. It's so annoying, and you just go round and round in circles. But it is what it is.
Again, don't know. Consistently, probably 1,000 to 1,500 quid, and then there's the odd months where I do a lot more and a lot of months do less. I'm actually probably going to a family office conference in a couple of weeks, and that's like 3.5 grand for 2 days. So that you get the odd one like that, which is quite punchy. But like Dorian said, if I land one relationship, that it's paid for. So yeah, so it goes up, and I would probably say similar to Stu, probably 25k, plus a year. It does vary because we might go to, it depends on like MIPIM, UK Reef, and all that sort of stuff. They're all super expensive. UK Reef, for an example, you're paying 400 quid for a Premier in room just because it's over that fucking week. It's insanely expensive.
UK Reef, I spent nearly 2,000 for that. It was £750 for the ticket plus travel up.
Spent nearly 6 grand with you this year, mate, on golf and skiing. So a third of my budget comes to you.
I can't see how any of us, because we are quite active, don't spend when you add it up, because you've got to factor the travel and the costs associated with doing that event. It's all of us probably are spending on average more than £3,000 a month when you dial it all back.
Yeah, fair. Bolton stuff, Stu. You're the one that's dug into it. What you said.
Bolton cancel. I've not done much reading into this because I got in late last night. But basically, from the 3rd of June, they just put an emergency Article 4 on the whole area. I was just trying to find the numbers, which I had it all last.
What makes it an emergency?
Basically, just put a restriction immediately. So anyone, they're gonna have to, Whitehall are gonna have to basically remove the right, but they've stopped it because they've gone from like 100 and something HMOs to like 700 HMOs. And where is it? As of the 13th of June 2025, Bolton has clamped down on the small HMO conversions. Any new applications now require full plan permission, and the community consultation window closes on the 25th of July. Foreign Council introduced an emergency Article 4 direction on the 13th of June, removing permitted development rights and converting homes into small HMOs. This means any new HMO conversions now require full plan permission. Public consultation is open to 25th of July, which after the council will decide whether to make the restriction permanent. Normally, because they have to give you 12 months notice, don't they? If you're going to take an area of Article 4, they have to go 12 you have to inform Whitehall and specific areas. Well, I think the problem's so out of control, they've literally just put a clamp down on the whole area.
We're doing this, even though they might not legally be able to actually put it through.
Existing small HMOs, if converted before 13th of June, are grandfathered and unaffected. New conversions or any work begin afterwards, because you'd be buying properties in the planning process and all of a sudden they just put this restriction on. It might be worth finding a news article about it, but I thought it was just quite interesting that the council just think they've got the right to do that. Here we go. So why now? The council cities a sharp increase in HMO conversions, rising from roughly 170 to 720, and concerns over community impacts in areas like Horwich. Local data suggests higher rates of crime and nuisance complaints near HMOs prompting the move. What's next? The Article 4 direction is already in effect, but it's subject to consultation and confirmation. Residents, landlords.
I think that though there is for listeners is a telling lesson, because we operate in the UK's legal jurisdiction, right? And in Wales, for example, we had several sites, even allocated sites, going through the planning system, and with immediate effect, the Welsh government brought in a new requirement affecting even sites already in the planning system. Regardless of the carnage it caused us. We had several sites that were compliant and then actually non-compliant. One of them that we just got planning for recently, but after a 2-year delay. One of them we're probably gonna have to go to appeal. We don't know how it's going to be, and we're in it for 6 figures. So what I'm trying to get at is that risk, that risk is relevant to anybody. So whenever you're doing deals, keep in the back of your mind in terms of your risk register, what happens if they're U-turn? How can you structure the deals or if you're not going to structure the deal and you're going to buy something unconditionally, how quickly can you enact your plan, basically? How much can you reduce the amount you're open for potential changes, which is the risk? Time is a risk in the UK.
Councils don't care about the extra cost. They have no intention or give it a second's thought about the consequences of that. I mean, can you imagine the delays and then trying to compensate and trying to, claim back and trying to go to appeal and trying to speak to government and Whitehall and trying to explain your case? I mean, it exhausts me thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, I've just found an article that was released on the 2nd of May 2025 talking about how they're already trying to bring in Article 4 direction in Bolton. So I'm sure, there was, even though it's emergency and that sounds really drastic, I'm sure it was the talk of the town for a little bit of a while.
I mean, it's quite a jump.
We're looking at this as a potential negative. That you cannot deliver HMOs in Bolton anymore, which is, reality. Not everything lasts forever, but the areas that we operate in do not have an Article 4 direction. And I've always thought to myself, if an Article 4 direction came in, that would be the time to exit, because that is like the pinnacle of value for you. If you've built an established portfolio in an area that now people can't compete with, you could then potentially look at exiting, or actually a benefit for your existing stock that you've got in place. So I think there's a huge benefit. I would actually be probably equally as unhappy as I am happy that Article 4 direction comes into a location.
Yeah, I think I think we spoke about this on the pod before, and to give you guys an idea, I've been speaking to a few different HMO operators over the last few weeks. I'm not going to name names, and I won't mention towns. Well, I'll tell you guys off air. But what's happening is it's like imagine it like fucking traffic lights around the country, just that you got a map of the UK and all the lights are on, and it's just like lights are just going out everywhere for not just where Article 4 is coming in, but for where HMOs are tenable, because there's so many investors getting into HMOs, particularly in southern areas like the South Coast, East London, parts of West London. I do think London's probably more central London is going to be probably quite protected because of just the demand's insane. But places in the north as well, we've seen it in 2 towns we operate in where we've pulled out the markets there. And I think it's just going to be a trend because of the amount of investors coming into HMOs. And I'd love to see an annual growth rate on how many new rooms are now on the market on net, how many new net rooms each year are coming on the market. And I think since COVID, it's probably an exponential curve.
HMOs are actually down. So it's from HMO rooms disappearing every year is 39,828 is what's being lost. And new demand every year is 27,704. What was the other set? So we need, this is Matt's stats from last night. I just took some pictures of his presentation, but 67,000 rooms are needed every year, which is 11,262 6-bed HMOs. And then his case was, why would you do 6-bed HMOs when you can do 20-bed HMOs? And obviously, you need about 3,500.
I understand he's got stats, but I'm talking to operators and they're struggling to rent rooms, and I've seen it. So there might be more. Maybe it's an affordability thing. Maybe it's just the rent levels now, even on a HMO, are just too high, and people are making that decision to just be more frugal. Maybe quality.
Location. But I don't think HMO works everywhere. It will for the right price, but
Yeah, it's going to be area dependent, isn't it? There's going to be some areas that fly out and some areas.
These were like proper good HMO areas, like, and they've just there's just too many rooms on the market. It's just like it's natural supply and demand, isn't it? But I think some city locations would probably be all right, and maybe it'll bounce back. Maybe it's just people are a bit worried at the moment because of the cost of living, and they're like, you know what, I'll just stay with mum and dad for a bit longer, and I'll make a decision later. Maybe employment's coming down as well, and the employers are being less aggressive. But maybe there's some other correlations, but
I'm finding the exact opposite. We're finding HMO rooms going in hours. Yeah, literally. I can put it up on a Thursday. It's gone by Saturday, and they've done viewings for a day, and they've had 2 or 3 viewings, and one's put a bid in. It's that quick, and it's good asking price because we're not trying to convert any house into any room into HMO. We're trying to go for 9 to 20 square meter rooms that are effectively studio flats with the added benefit of the kitchenette and the ensuite, and people love them because they are literally like mini flats that they can rent. And it does so much for them in terms of almost like a subscription based model where they know exactly it's going to cost them £8,000-9,000 a month, and that's it. They commit 6 months to 2 years, and our people on 35 to 50 grand a year, mid-20s to mid-40s, and they just need somewhere they want to call home. It's perfect. I just don't think that you should convert every house in every area. There's a slot. You need to go where the work is. You need to go where train stations are, and
I mean, I hope they bring an Article 4 in more areas. Like, I think that will be a smart thing to do in some, particularly places like Darlington. Like, they need to bring an Article 4. I've watched a whole street go from being a shithole into a HMO street, and it's a much better street for it now. But literally every other house is HMO.
it does surprise me why you want more restrictions and more Article 4s. It's basically the free market will decide. If there's too many HMOs and people got to lower their prices, that's
because the issue is, that's one way of thinking about it. The other way of thinking about it is, and we're seeing this happen in Darlington and in some other areas. If an investor has built a HMO on a street that could otherwise be a good street, they've put the money in, they can't rent it on the free market. So what do? They go to the council, they go to a provider, and then they stick a load of social tenants in there, and then that drags down the social quality of the street. So there's got to be caution, not only for the private rental stock, but also for the locals that live and call that place home. And like I've watched streets. There's a street called Beach Road in South Shields, and fuck me, like it's just social housing HMOs after social housing HMOs, and it is the roughest street in a really, really nice part of the town. And these are beautiful big Victorian houses, but they're just all social tenants, and it's like you don't go down there, like, and it's a problem for the council to deal with. And locals are, fuck me, like we put an apartment planning commission for an apartment scheme there. They thought we were doing HMOs, and the amount of pushback we had was insane from locals sending me emails and all sorts, like, how dare you do this? We've been dealing with this for the last decade. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, we're doing apartments. Like, look at the planning application. Don't just like high level it and have a go. But there is also some other consideration, I think, for just what it actually does to some of these streets if they don't have some sort of restriction. Because it might not work privately, then they're just going to give it to the council, and then you just end up fucking up the area for the rest of your stock. So there's a balancing function, I think.
When you touch on not being able to let it privately and then going down the council route, people are actively doing that without even trying the private route first. Have you seen that? Have you seen that there's that guy, looks like an absolute geezer, called Graham King, 57 years old, first billionaire generated off. He's been nicknamed. Hang on a second, let me find it. Britain's first billionaire migrant hotel king.
Yeah, that's the hotel temporary accommodation Yeah.
taking hotels and just put migrants in there.
But no, basically, he's doing like deals where he's taking on big hotels or actually building portfolios where he's taking in asylum seekers and temporary accommodation, which is obviously a short-term fix to a long-term problem.
He's got a contract with the Home Office, and so all of the asylums that come over, the Home Office work with him, this company, to basically, so they'll reach out and say, we've got another 50 or another 100. Where can we place them, basically? And or we need to place 100 in this area, whatever. And then he'll do a rent to rent. His company will do like a rent to rent on either like a hotel or some apartment blocks or whatever needed, supply and demand really. And he'll make a spread. They make a spread. So thinking their last year's profits, they made 120 million or something as clean profit.
Yeah, he's in the UK rich list now. Right, basically, taxpayers' money that's now in.
That's like, I don't know, but I don't know how you guys feel about that. That makes me morally angry that someone can make money doing that.
I mean, he got a contract with the Home Office, so it's one of those really. From a business point of view, I think is absolutely fucking genius. Really, what is he's not.
Yeah.
I think the problem is the person paying him, not the person receiving.
Yeah, I agree. Because to be fair to that organization, they've not just been set up and been given a contract from, like it's not like the COVID PPE scandal type thing where he's just set the business up yesterday. He's got a contact in the Home Office and he's been given this contract from his son. The business has actually been going a long time, and because the UK for decades has had a history of housing migrants, housing asylum seekers, and obviously the UK government doesn't do that themselves. They work with operators to do that. The problem that's happened from the UK's point of view is that they've just exploded that that number, and the complete restrictions came off, and millions have come over, and obviously they funneled that business. So I agree with Jack. It's how that's happened is the problem, not necessarily the operator.
Interesting. You see what's happening in Ireland, like that's bound to happen here, and I think people like him are going to become a target. That's what they're doing in Ireland right now. There's these big landlords. There's this great Twitter video of this guy going around and going like, this guy's house, this guy's house, this guy's house. He's putting all the migrants in, and they're like people rallying in the streets, and they're like going up to all the migrants and like they're angry. And I think that's going to happen here as well, people like that. But we'll see. Anyway, I think we're at the hard stop, guys. I think some of you guys got to go now, innit?
Yeah, I've got to shoot. So listen, ladies and ladies, have a great day. Have a great week.
Maybe next week we can't have Stuart's mic in the fucking sorting office.
Have a lovely evening, guys. Have a lovely weekend.
From Farnham, we're out.
Goodbye.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate